It sounds like you're telling me you're prepared to make people mad.
Well, these corporations have an obligation to the members, to the workers. I mean, these workers are the reason these profits happen.
I came out here to Macomb County, Michigan to meet with the new leader of one of the most storied and influential unions in America, the United Auto Workers. His name is Shawn Fain. Shawn is an even-keeled kind of guy, very calm, but underneath that exterior is somebody who's itching for a fight with corporate America.
Oh, you bet. I have two speeds. I have this speed and I have a different speed, but there's a time and a place for those things, so.
Here you are, the first democratically elected president of the UAW. Tell me what that feels like. How do you treat the honor of being chosen by your fellow members?
It's such an honor. I think of so many people that laid the groundwork for this longer than I've been alive. I was always an advocate for one member, one vote. It's just honestly, most of us, although we fought for it, we pushed for it, it just wasn't a reality, it seemed, because there was such a control of how this institution ran.
When you think about that a majority of members voted for change in the leadership of the UAW, they wanted you, what do you think the message is that they were trying to send?
I think the message is just that they're fed up with the status quo. You know, you have higher ed workers that are sleeping in cars. You have independent parts and suppliers. They live paycheck to paycheck. Well over half of our workforce in the big three does not have a pension, does not have post-retirement health care, and it takes them years to get to full pay. You look at situations in the big three where you have language that says it's moratoriums on plant closings and idlings, and yet they're still closing plants and idling plants, and there's been no action from the leadership. And now you look at the shift to EV, and again, the companies jumped the gun. They've formed joint ventures, and we really haven't, the leadership hasn't responded to those things. So I really believe it's just the membership's fed up. It's a mandate from them that they expect change. They expect us to put the membership first, and they expect us to deliver.
You're going to have some of these corporations, I assume Caterpillars and the big three, a lot of electric vehicle industry wanting federal support. How do you think about ensuring that workers get a fair shake out of this federal money that's coming in?
You know, we're facing a huge shift right now with the transition to EV and knowing where that's going to go. And there's a lot of work in front of us on that front also, because you look at what's going on right now. My hometown, again, Kokomo, Indiana, Chrysler announced a new battery plant there, a joint venture, but we have no rights to that work. Our members, if we get away from transmissions, the 8,000 transmission workers in Kokomo are not going to have a job. You look at Ford, the two EV joint ventures in Kentucky and Tennessee, $11 billion in investment, and right now we have no piece of that. So we really have to get to work at securing that work, and bring it and making it work that's worthwhile. It needs to be under our master agreements, so that it pays a good wage and a good standard of living, and also that we secure futures for our current workers and future workers as they're coming in.
These are purpose-driven jobs in life. I mean, there's a pride of wearing a UAW pullover and feeling like I go to a plant and I do something that's productive for the nation.
You talk about pride in work. I mean, I look back at my grandfather. He saved every check stub he ever earned at Chrysler from the first day he hired in 1937 until he retired. He saved every check stub. He was proud of that job. Those people damn near starved to death during the Depression. They were proud of what they'd accomplished. They went from destitution to being able to retire, and they lived the American dream. But the American dream has been dead for years. I mean, it's not there anymore. I mean, so the unions are responsible to make that happen. A lot of the non-union facilities right now, and if they look at us and look at themselves, they hire in as temp workers. We hire in as temp workers. That takes them years to get to full pay. It takes us years to get to full pay. In the 1930s, our top leaders were talking about a 32-hour work week. In 2019, I was taken out of negotiations because I wouldn't accept a 7-day, 12-hour schedule. So we have to get back to where we set the standard and give people a reason to want to be a part of something bigger. I tell people we have to get back to our roots, but we have to be better than we were even then, because the world's very different now. I mean, work is very different. The UAW is very different. Back in my grandparents' day, it was the big three. Now we represent a very diverse group of people, gaming, higher ed, IPS, nurses. I mean, we have, a plethora of workers everywhere. And so, but with that, we also have a lot more power. So we have to utilize those things and come together and set the standard and elevate the working class as a whole.
The fight of Starbucks workers, the fight of Amazon workers, they're your fights too?
Definitely. I mean, we have to all come together. We have to think big. We have to think on a bigger scale. We have to think global. We have to get with workers all over this world, and we have to unite. If we're going to win this fight, that's what we have to do. We can't sit back with our head in the sand and say, okay, we're here in America, and that's all we care about.
You want some votes from your membership. Now there's going to be some politicians out there who are going to be wanting to court working class votes. Hopefully they will. What do you learn, and what's your message to people saying, if you want to talk to working class voters, here's what they need to hear from you?
Well, they need to get on board with the working class voters. I mean, if you want our endorsement, if you want our support, the proof is in your actions, not in your words. We have to stand together as labor. We have to come together, and politicians need to understand if they want our vote, then it's time to put up. We're always there for them with boots on the ground every election cycle. We expect our issues to be resolved also, and our issues to be dealt with.
What's your message to corporate America?
My message to corporate America is they better get ready. Over a decade, these companies have been flush with profits, and they've enjoyed the successes of that. They've expanded, but the members have actually regressed, and it's unacceptable. And it's time that they put the membership first. And if they don't, then we're going to have to do what we have to do.
Nice to meet you, sir.
You
Best of luck in this job.